Hi, I'm Mike McLean. Welcome to the Short Circuit podcast brought to you by Swift Aircraft. In this series, we'll be chatting with a variety of people from all walks of life, but who all have one thing in common: aviation. We'll discuss how and why they got into aviation, what or who inspired them, and what they would say to encourage young people to get involved. Flight fascinates many of us, and our guests will explain why they are compelled to look to the sky. Today's chat is with Rosina Chester. I met Rosina at the RAFAC Business and Industry Forum, and during the networking session, I was impressed by her enthusiasm and can-do attitude. Her passion for her job and engaging young people for the future of aviation was obvious and infectious, so she's a clear choice for me to invite onto the short circuit. I really enjoyed having a natter with such an upbeat, chirpy personality, and I'm sure that you'll feel invigorated when you have listened to her yourself. So, here goes. Rosina Chester, can you give us a brief introduction to yourself as to who you are and what is your current role in aviation?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mike. Yes, as you said, my name is Rosina Chester, and I'm an electrical avionics fitter at Marshall Aerospace.
Yes, excuse the chuckling. I had a couple of technical issues and yes, a bit of finger trouble. Anyway, so you're at Marshall Aerospace and they are based whereabouts in the country?
In Cambridge.
Cambridge, okay, fine. Just to get the ball rolling, so what got you started within aviation and what is your role within Marshall's?
Okay, yeah. So I'm currently, like I said, an electrical avionics fitter. So my predominant role is to carry out any electrical rectification to aircraft. So I install new wiring, I clean and sort of do more husbandry work around sort of the electronics of the aircraft. I make sure that if there's any sort of like defects or problems with any of like the more avionics software, that we can help troubleshoot that, functionally check it, fault find, and basically just carry out sort of the electrical part of aircraft maintenance. So that's my task. I haven't always been electrical fitter though. I've been doing it for the past 5 years, and I've actually been at Marshall for 8 years. And I used to be an aircraft trimmer. So I've actually done 2 apprenticeships with Marshall, which I'm very grateful for because they allowed me to retrain after my first apprenticeship into electrical avionics, which very, very grateful for.
Okay, I have a question. So what is an aircraft trimmer?
So an aircraft trimmer is basically an interior fitter. So what I used to do was I used to concentrate on taking up carpets, laying down new ones, seats. If there's any sort of like rips, I used to be able to manufacture and upholster seats. I used to be able to like bind the carpets as well. Also the wall linings and stuff like that. Almost like you can see it in terms of wallpaper. It's like wallpaper, and you used to be able to apply that onto the doors and panels and etc. in the galleys, and basically fit floors, the walls, and the seats, and that was my kind of more furnishing type of job.
Oh, okay, and you've migrated from that to electrical fitting and engineering?
Yes.
Wow, so, that's okay. So it's still within the bounds of aviation, but that's quite a leap from one skill set to another.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. It was it was funny because when I first applied for Marshall, I applied to be an electrical avionics fitter, but they only took certain amounts of trades each year, and they weren't taking anyone in that trade at that time. And so I had a choice really. I had a choice of waiting and not applying and waiting for another year or so, seeing if I could get in another year, or applying and just getting my foot in the door and basically seeing what was there and trying something maybe that I didn't know if I was going to be any good at or not. I mean, I've always been a very keen seamstress. My nan taught me how to sew very, very well. So I was already in the that skill set rounds. And I also used to tinker around a lot with cars and motorbikes as a very young child and sort of like as a young adolescent as well. And so I already had quite a decent mechanical and electrical knowledge that I kind of fostered from vehicles anyway. So, but I am quite glad that it happened like that for me, because it means that I've seen quite different sides to maintenance engineering. I was
Hmm.
able to sit on, I don't want to say both ends of the spectrum, but almost like a sphere. Like I was part of support services
Hmm.
for the maintenance engineers, and now I'm a maintenance engineer. And it is really interesting seeing how the full, even though I haven't had a full spectrum of the maintenance engineering, but how a maintenance program is
Hmm.
kind of formed and the types of trades that are included. Because a lot of people, obviously, as we all know, a lot of people think aircraft, they see pilot.
Hmm.
And if they don't see pilot and they do see an engineer, then they just see a person with a spanner,
Hmm.
and they don't actually see that there's an aircraft cleaner that actually has a very specific qualification to be able to clean that aircraft due to the chemicals they use. And you've got aircraft trimmers that trim the seats and the floors, and you've got ground equipment engineers that have to make sure that all of the staging are all serviced. And there's a whole amount of people that keep this ball rolling that a lot of people don't see or know about.
Yeah, I mean, I find it fascinating that you very easily made a connection between two, and as you say, the spectrum, but two different parts of the spectrum, which a lot of people
Mm,
would not think they're connected at all. There's a tendency to assume something like soft furnishings has absolutely no place in engineering, but it
mm,
really does. If you don't get that part right, then it makes a problem for somewhere else. And to be able to transition from being an aircraft trimmer and working on that side of things through to the electronics and the electrical side of things, it's a seamless transition from one area to the other. Whereas I think the assumption, the average assumption would be that they're totally disparate parts, but it's aviation
mm.
and it's just a
Yeah,
different
yeah.
space.
Yeah,
That's,
I mean, I was always working with, when I turn up to the aircraft in the morning, they're the same faces that I see in both job roles. I
mhm,
just, instead of me being the trimmer talking to the electrical engineer, I'm now the electrical engineer talking to the trimmer. And we're all one team to be able to get an aircraft airworthy and serviceable. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, that's the thing. It takes a team to keep an aircraft operational and
Mm.
safe and working well. So going back a little bit, as a youth, were you involved in the cadets at all, that sort of thing? Did you do STEM sort of
Yes.
stuff?
Yeah, so in cadets, so I joined cadets a little bit later than some of my peers. I joined when I was almost 15. So I was still 14, but I was almost 15 when I joined. Um, and it was for a bit of fun, really. The cadets came into my school, gave us a presentation, and I went, that looks amazing. And I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie. Uh,
Hmm.
so I like the idea of chucking myself out of an aircraft or something. I was like, oh yeah, I'm all for it. Chuck me up. So yeah, so me and a bunch of friends from school all went along, and a few of them dropped out over the years, but I really kind of stuck with it. I especially stuck with it as well because my sisters later joined when they came of age, and it became a bit of a family affair for me. Cadets became like a bit of, yeah, like a home from home. It
Hmm.
really was, like the staff, the other cadets, my own family being so involved as well. Like it was really, really wonderful for me. And yeah, and it was just a place where, to be honest with you, I feel like I'd done a lot of my own growing up, and a lot
Hmm.
of my knowledge and skills in the world really developed within cadets. Yeah.
Hmm. Um, so I mean, you're much younger than I am. Did you find when you joined the cadets that there was any resistance to girls being in the cadets? Because when I was a cadet, I don't think I ever saw one.
Yeah.
It was a different. I'm a dinosaur, so it's a different world then.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't feel as though there was a resistance at all. we had quite a few members of staff that were female.
Hmm.
Um, my warrant officer, for example, she was a remarkable woman, Tabitha, absolutely remarkable. And she was like one of the strongest personalities I've ever met in my life. And so I never really felt like there was in cadet like like a disproportion at all, or like there almost wasn't a place for girls at all. And even though my squadron wasn't massively made up of female presence, but having such a strong staff member, such a strong sort of female character,
Hmm.
almost leading our squadron, made it up for it, I think.
Okay, that's good to know. So the world is learning, and
Yeah, yeah, slowly but surely.
so I mean, so you're in the cadets. Your family was always they were involved as well and enthusiastic about
Mhm.
aviation. I think in our previous chat you mentioned that your mum she was right into fighter jets as well.
Oh yeah, she's an up for it. And I was saying that we always used to play top trumps, and it used to be with either like sport car edition or the fast jet jets edition. So yeah, so I got to learn a lot of fighter jets from top trumps.
Right. Okay. I think a lot of us did, especially back in the day. Um,
Yeah.
when you were at school, did you focus on technical type subjects, or was that a thing for you, or was that available to you at that time?
Sure, school was funny for me because I was quite a cheeky little student. I was very
No,
cheeky.
really?
Yeah, I know. It's hard to imagine. But I was a little naughty. I wasn't horrible, but I was a little cheeky, and I was that kid that always got set, like always had it on my paperwork saying if she applied herself better,
Hmm. Could
then
could do
always.
could work harder.
Yeah, or if Rosina could just do her homework or just concentrate. And I was just always aware of the fairies. I was a constant distraction. Um, but there was three in particular teachers that saw more in me,
Hmm.
saw more than the naughtiness, saw more than the cheekiness. And it was my English, maths, and science teachers. And in particular, my maths teacher, she was my tutor, Mrs. Shepherd, and she was unbelievably supportive of me. And my science teacher, Miss Carter, installed such a passion for science. Like I had a genuine, and I do still have a genuine passion for science. And I always knew I was going to have a science-based career.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize at the time when I was younger that having this passion and love for science can transfer into engineering because they are such a linked subject. But what was funny is I was awful at mathematics. I've always been awful at maths. And my tutor, bless her, she tried with all her might to help me. And I really couldn't pull it out of the bag until exam day. And then all of a sudden I become a very like I was on track definitely for we're talking low grades.
Hmm.
And as soon as I got my GCSE grades back, they were Bs. And she was like, "How did you pull out a B?" And I was like, I don't know. So for me, I always, and then getting older, I realized that for me, school never taught me this because it tells you, right, learn this and then do an exam on it and then that's it. And I always I'm one of those deeper kind of level people that go, but why? And for me, engineering, having maths that's applied, like applied to real life situations,
Hmm.
like I can just do it. I can see if I can see the problem and I can see the numbers being a physical thing, I've got it.
Right.
But having the numbers on the paper, no, you
Hmm.
had no chance getting me. So in school, I was very supported by the right teachers, I think, and
Hmm.
that's something that not a lot of kids get. So I was really, really grateful to those three women that they really saw me for more than just the sort of like cheeky act I was putting on when I was a
Hmm.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, yes, people think in different ways, and I think it's now that's being recognized. It's not just about churning out robots that are all the same, and if you don't fit the mold, then
Mm.
it, it there's different ways of thinking. There's visual thinkers, there's literal thinkers, there's hands-on
Mm,
people. Um, so
yeah.
so in your role at the moment at work, I mean, do you work as I know you work as a team, as in the company, but do you work in a dedicated team? And how do you fit into that team? Are you at
Mm.
the top of the team? Are you leading people, or are you mentoring people, or are you supporting others?
Yeah, so it's interesting actually. So technically I do work in a fixed team. So I work in avionics, which is one team.
Mhm.
We are a team in our own right, but then I also work with aircraft teams. So each aircraft that comes in will have its own maintenance team assigned to it because we do deep maintenance, so base maintenance. And then I will then get tasked and attach myself to that team. So I almost get two teams, if you can
Mhm.
see it like that. So I'm avionics and that's my team, but I'm also on blue team who are looking after this aircraft, and then I'm part of their team. So that's very much sort of how my teamness works. I don't know. I'm not like a technician or anything. I don't certify to like anyone else's work. I only certify my own, and I am just a fitter in terms of sort of like leading and managing roles. But I have had a couple of apprentices assigned to me.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I do mentor apprentices. A lot of fitters at the moment on the shop floor do mentor apprentices because there's such a big push to get more apprentices through the system, and as there should be really, because we have a massive skill shortage in the UK, a huge skill shortage. So we are really pushing these apprentice numbers through, which is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But we need people to mentor them when they're on the shop floor.
Mhm.
So yes, I'm one of those people out of quite a few in our company. That take on apprentices and will mentor them and try and teach them as much as I know.
So I mean that's fascinating to know. So with the so you're saying there's shortages in certain skill sets and so on, and we need to get more apprentices
Yeah.
through and sort of that sort of thing. So if you were talking to, say you were giving a presentation or a talk to a local school or a local college and so on, what would you say to a bunch of youngsters to try and get them enthused into doing a STEM sort of activity, whether it's coming in as an aircraft trimmer or whether you're coming in an electrical fitter or whether you're coming in as a mechanic, or because a lot of people might think, well, that's not for me. I want to go and do something else. So what would you say to encourage them?
Um, I mean, it's it's funny actually because I can honestly put my feet in those shoes because when I applied to start at Marshall as a trimmer, I also was applying to university to be a paramedic.
Okay.
And I was unsure about my future. I wasn't too sure where I wanted to go. All I'd known is I loved science. I wanted to be a doctor of sorts or in the medical profession because that's how I thought science kind of worked. I thought if you like science, you like being a doctor.
Okay.
Turns out I'm really bad with blood. Okay, so I would have been an awful paramedic. So it's a really good job I never done it. But um, in all honesty, it's hard to really say, all right, go home, take things apart, and then work out if you like it. It's such a niche, almost thing to try and encourage someone into, but at the same time, it's like for me, I think you don't. It depends what's holding you back. If what's holding you back is a genuine passion for another industry, you need to go for whatever passion that is. But if it's an uncertainty, if it's almost like a concern over confidence or like, do I have what it takes to, it sounds really difficult. It sounds too much. It sounds too big for me. If they even enter that brain, I go, honestly, you like every other human in this world, you're so capable of learning. you are not born knowing anything, and when you go into this job, you're going to not know anything, and you're going to one day turn around and go, God, actually, I know a lot, and you're going to be sitting there going, and you're going to be, you'll have an apprentice given to you, and you'll be sitting there going, wow, I can actually teach them quite a bit. And before you know it, you're so much more than you ever thought you were ever going to be. And you know so much about a subject once upon a time you never knew anything about. So if it's anything to do with those concerns, and you have like a slight interest, and you're like, oh, maybe I do want to be an engineer. I don't know. And you think, well, what's the worst that can happen?
Hmm.
You take an apprenticeship, you try it. Really, to be honest with you, I'll be surprised if you don't fall in love with it and enjoy it and have a really successful and gorgeous career in it. But honestly, if you want to change, you can. You have a whole life ahead of you. But I would be really surprised if you come in and you want to leave. So yeah, so I just think try it.
That struck me as quite wise words. At the beginning there, you said, if you have a passion, follow that passion. If you're unsure, then give it a try. Don't just be put off because you're unsure. Yeah, that's I'll put those as wise words. I do find there's a lot of people, especially young people, get an awful lot of anxiety about
Mm,
trying something they don't know, so they don't
yeah.
try.
Yeah,
Whereas,
yeah, yeah.
if you try, if it works, it works. If it fails, that's not a
Yeah.
problem. You can always change. But
Mm.
if you never try, then you never know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, life leads you in the most strangest directions. I honestly, when I thought I was going to be a paramedic, and then ended up a trimmer, and then I ended up an electrical engineer. God knows what's down the road for me for the next 40, 60 years. And you just never know. And I think that is genuinely the best part about it. And I just think if you embrace that, then no challenge is big. Like you'll be able to do it.
Yeah, just one step at a time, you get there.
Yes, definitely.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, I'm curious. I don't know if you're allowed to tell me, but and if you're not, then that's fine. We can cut this a little bit out.
Mhm.
But the aircraft that you're working on, are you able to tell
Mm.
me what type of aircraft you're working on?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I work on Hercules C-130s.
Oh, right.
Um, I spent 4 years working on the J models,
Hmm.
and I spent the last year or so working on the H models, so the legacies. Because Marshall is absolutely renowned for C-130 maintenance. So yeah, we've got a very strong skill set in
Hmm.
that particular aircraft model. That, yeah, is very unique.
Yeah, I have to confess, I'm very jealous that you get to crawl all over a Hercules these days because I've never been in one. There's a lot of low flying where I live, and
Mm,
it used to be great, and they'd come past me at a couple of 100 feet, and there was always something just nice about them. But anyway,
yeah.
I'm
I must
waffling
admit,
on.
I absolutely love them. I think they look so cute.
Yeah,
They're so cute.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, so Rosina, we're getting towards the end of this time slot now, slightly
Mhm.
reduced to my own finger trouble and feeble brainness. But we come to the big question of the day,
Mhm.
and that is, what's your favorite plane and why?
Do you know what? It's so funny. I was contemplating this because it's changed over the years. I would honestly have said, if you asked me 5 years ago, a Harrier GR7. Uh,
Okay.
just because I think it's so cool with its sort of like its vertical sort of flight capabilities. I think that's fantastic. But
Hmm.
I honestly, head over heels, am in love with the Hercules C-130s. Not
Right.
only do I get to work on them every day, which might give me a bit of bias, but they are honestly the cutest little aircraft flying around those skies. They are so cute with their little noses. I love them. And I just think their capabilities are astounding. Like their takeoff and their landing distances are just wow. And you're just like, these are such tough little nuts.
Hmm.
I love their character. I love what they do. And I just think, like, how many other aircraft really just keep getting pumped out the factory 60 years later because everyone just knows they are just bread and butter.
Hmm.
Absolutely love them. Absolutely love them.
Okay, well that's good, and I can tell you that's the first one that's going on our picture board. I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look at the picture board yet, but
Yes, I have. Yes.
no, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. So yeah, you're getting the one of the few four-engine aircraft that's going up there. I'm actually surprised at some of the selections that have been. I was
Mhm.
expecting a few more, but yeah. So you're going to be, even though you consider the Hercules to be quite cute and small, it's one of the bigger ones that's going up there.
Oh, yeah, I did have a look. They are looking rather light, and this is coming in a little bit more heavyweight, but it's
Yeah.
still so tiny when you put it up against like the A400M and stuff. It's
Hmm.
so tiny,
Yeah.
so cute.
Yeah. And they're around. I mean, they've been around forever. They're just
Yeah, literally,
yeah.
yeah.
They
And
are.
they just don't want to go anywhere. They're just absolute nuts. They're
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah, and they keep going, and to keep them going, we need people like you to keep them up there. So that's
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, Rosina, we're getting, we're going to get thrown off the system in a minute. So I just want to say thank you very much for your time. I will let you know when we're going to put this out live. I'll give you plenty
Mhm.
of warning. It's been great talking to you. Thank you very much, and thanks to Marshalls as well. Um,
Mhm.
Rosina Chester. Ex-aircraft trimmer, now aircraft electrical fitter. Uh, it's been wonderful having you on the short circuit, and we shall speak to you at some point in the near future.
Yes, thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
So that was Rosina Chester. I would describe her as the definition of enthusiasm and job satisfaction. From being the cheeky one in class at school, she's developed into an inspiring young professional, working in a field that she obviously loves for a company she appreciates and is proud of. Her excitement is contagious, and she's a great example of how young people can be exposed to a career path when encouraged by teachers in STEM subjects and good role models. She's a genuine product of hashtag inspiring aviation. And with that, I'll end by saying, fly safe. You have been listening to The Short Circuit, presented by Mike McLean and sponsored by Swift Aircraft with the hashtag Inspiring Aviation. This has been a Zoom Spike production.